Hi, I'm Ben,
And I'm Ernie.
and this is Budget Nerds.
What was all in your mind?
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Well, Ernie, today we're talking about debt, and we're going to get more specific, though. We're going to talk about methods for choosing a focus debt. So, maybe you have a big old long list of debts and you're not sure where to start. And so we're going to talk about, how you list out those debts, how your plan of attack, really, like which one you should go with first, which one you should go with next, and a few different methods that are out there.
I'm really pumped for this topic because I love paying off debt. It's exciting, right?
Yeah.
It feels like I'm my best budgeter when I'm paying off debt. So this is going to be nerdy, going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's asked about a lot. People are like, "Yeah, this is a really hot topic. It's controversial," which to me, like, I don't feel like it should be controversial. Like, it's not. It's fine to do whatever you want. You know what I mean. But people get heated about this, so I'll be interested to see in the comments what people think, and maybe we can have an argument too. We'll see. But,
Well, and just to tease things a little bit, you have a hot take at the very end of this episode.
I do have a hot take. I feel like I kind of already said it a little bit, but I'll do my hot take at the end about all these methods.
So we'll start by just introducing the methods and then just kind of talking through pros and cons of each one. I think that sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's start with probably the most famous, the debt snowball method. So this one, you take all your debts, all of them, and list them out smallest balance to largest balance. You pay minimum payments on all your debts. Then you pick the one with the smallest balance, go after that one with everything you got. And then when that one's done, you go on to the next one. And the idea, it's a snowball because you can take the minimum payment from the other debt, from the debt that you just paid off, add that to your total debt payoff amount, put that on the next debt. So your momentum kind of builds like a snowball going down the hill, right? And that's the idea here.
So years ago, when I started paying off a whole bunch of our debt, I had no idea that there were different methods even available.
Right.
I just kind of assumed, well, you have all these debts and you just kind of start paying them however you want, and maybe a little bit here, a little bit there, and then eventually you come to a time where they're all paid off.
Yeah.
And so when I heard about this debt snowball, I was instantly hooked because it gave me an easy place to start. Focus on that smallest balance, which at the time, for us, I think it was a really small medical debt.
Okay.
But I looked at that, I'm like,
ankle biter.
I can totally do that. And so focus on paying that off. And then, that comes really soon. Then it's like, oh my goodness. I remember that excitement that this plan is working. I felt that momentum. And then being able to take the money that I'd been sending there and putting that towards the next debt, like, that was awesome.
Wow.
So I was hooked.
That's super interesting. I maybe that's why people like these methods so much and they get so excited about them, because people need a plan. You know what I mean? And this feels like I'm making a plan. For me, when I've been paid off debts in the past, these didn't really apply to me that much because I had large debts. Like I had a large student loan that was like consolidated, so it was like all like one little big old chunk, and then the mortgage, And so I never had these like little ankle biter debts that that I needed to. It was kind of
okay.
It was kind of just chunk at that debt, that one large debt. That was kind of what it was for me. But if you have a lot of small debts or just a lot of debts, a lot of individual debts, in general, this can be really, really powerful. Because one, you get that early win, like you were saying, and Ernie, like you said, oh, I can do this. Because it's so daunting if you look at that big number. But if you just look at the one, the smallest balance first, you really feel like you can do it, and you can do it quickly, and that is going to motivate you to keep going. So this is what we generally recommend, right, Ernie?
Absolutely. And then the cash flow piece. Did you say that?
Yeah. That's so. Yeah, you get the cash flow back quicker, and you can make decisions with that money. So, and it's all else being equal, we recommend this method. But we're not militant about it though. Why not?
No, not at all. It just generally is the easiest one, especially for people that have no experience budgeting, pay in debt, they don't have any idea of where they should even start. I think it's a good entry point. But the cash flow piece, I didn't realize how powerful that was probably until midway through my debt pay down plan. And we talk around YNAB quite a bit about, when you have debt, you have that cash flow problem because a lot of the money that you're earning is already spoken for, right? It's going towards those debt payments. And then as you pay those off, it's almost like this big raise. You have this chunk of money that is now really yours, and you can do whatever you want with that. And that just felt like, okay, I have a little bit more control now over my money. I have a say in what this money can do for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and a lot of folks say, really a part of the debt snowball method is to take all of that freed up cash flow and put it on the next debt. And that's good. I think that's great advice because you're just building that snowball. But one thing that I think we try to emphasize at YNAB is don't make automatic decisions like that. So let's say you're paying off your first debt and the minimum payment is $100 a month, right? And you're paying $300 on it. Okay, these are just random numbers I'm coming up with. So once that debt's gone, you now have 100 plus 300. You have $400 of money that you could put to the next debt, but you just freed up $100 that was an obligation before. And I don't think you should make an automatic decision, say, okay, I have to put this on the next debt, because you might have some other things, like you might need to start thinking about true expenses, those non-monthly bills and things that come up. Maybe you need to shore up some of those things a little more, or maybe it's even some lifestyle things. Maybe you cut back a lot to get that first debt out of the way, and you want to bump it up a little bit. I just don't want people to say, well, I have to. I have to make this kind of arbitrary decision at the beginning, and I don't have a choice. I have to put it all on the next debt. You can make a choice about that freed up cash flow. So I think you should pause every time you pay off a debt and think about it.
Yeah, especially early on, we were making a lot of sacrifices other places in the budget, trying to trim down eating out, trim down clothing, groceries, things like that. But then as we kind of progressed, instead of taking that money that was used for the debt and putting it towards that next one, we did started making some different decisions with those dollars. And so I remember, one time, I forget what debt we had just paid off, but the decision was made, we're just going to bump up the groceries a little bit, right? Because that was starting to feel pretty tight. And, we had been making a lot of sacrifices, and we kind of got to the end of the road of constantly just kind of going bare bones in some of those categories. So it felt really good to bump those up.
I mean, sometimes you need like a sprint, where like for a short period of time, we're going to go really nuts on this thing, but then you can't keep that up forever. Right. So I think
Absolutely.
for the debt payment journey, it ebbs and flows a lot, So I think it's good. Every time you pay off one of those debts, pause, look at your cash flow situation, look at your lifestyle, and think about it. So I think that's good. Should we move on to the next debt payoff method? It's another winter analogy, right? Although it's not really an analogy. I think this one was named just in direct response to the debt snowball. This one's called the debt avalanche.
Right, and I don't really understand the connection there, avalanche with interest rates, because with this method, instead of focusing on the smallest balance, you're listing your debts by interest rate. And then you're tackling, right? Your priority debt starts with the highest interest rate debt. The thinking there, pay that one off first, pay the other high interest ones off first. You're going to save money in the long run because you're not paying as much in interest.
Yeah. So if you all else being equal, if you pay off your debt in the same amount of time, you put the same amount of money on it, you will save more money if you go for the highest interest rate debts first. Is that right, Ernie? Do I have that right? Is that how that works?
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, this is good. I think it's really good. For me, it all comes back to motivation. That's why the debt snowball is so great. But if you are really motivated by getting rid of interest payments, and you're just really frustrated by the amount of interest that's going out, then I think you should go for the highest interest rate, because like, what's going to motivate you? It's not just about the math, but it's also about the what's motivating you. Is it the time to the first debt payoff, or is it how quickly can you stop paying interest, right?
Yeah, and like you said, if you don't have some of those ankle biting debts, just small little balances here and there, yeah, this might be the best approach for you.
That's true. Yeah. If your debt journey is going to be like a long haul thing and you're like, I mean, and you can run the numbers. Like there's all sorts of calculators out there. I think we'll be building one eventually and even in the app. Yeah, you can run the numbers and say like, okay, well, if I did the same thing, sometimes it doesn't really matter. Like you might look at it and be like, okay, I am going to save some interest, but it's going to be like a hamburger worth of interest. Like I'm going to save like $5 of interest if I arrange the debts in this list, But if you have really big debts and you're going to be paying on them a long time, it could make a huge difference.
It really could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I just remember
a really high interest rate debt too, like a really high interest.
I remember looking at my debts, and I think the first one we started off with was medical, and just a few $100s maybe, and then if I went with the high interest, that probably would have been, boy, I'm thinking my car loan, but that was like $10,000 plus. So I'm looking at a couple $100s with zero interest versus $10,000 with I don't even know what that interest. It was pretty low, but I don't know. I just had to take that quick win. I needed that instant gratification.
I think it's good. And also, I don't know. I feel like I would be more upset and annoyed about a medical debt than I would be about a car debt,
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of leads us to our next debt pay down method. Should we talk about that?
Absolutely. I like this one.
We kind of made it up. Well, actually, I think the community really made it up. So, actually, I'm going to plug the debt Bootcamp. If you guys are interested in how to pay off debt and how to use YNAB to make it happen, and really everything we teach, all our best teaching is in an email series called the Debt Bootcamp. And there's also a Facebook group associated with it. So all you got to do is go to ynab.com/debt. I'm going to make sure I'm right about this. Just ynab.com/debt, and you can sign up for an email series where we give you all our best teaching based on all our experience teaching about debt, and it's great.
And I think it's 14 emails over 30 days. And the emails are really short, and most of them are videos. Yeah,
there's a video on every one from other Ben and Hannah, so it's great, and they're real funny and they're fun, so I think you'll really enjoy it, and you'll get a lot of good teaching there.
Yeah, and the private Facebook group is awesome too, because you're rubbing shoulders with other YNABers who are also paying off debt. So a lot of how-tos, tips and tricks, and also just the encouragement and motivation from them.
Yeah. So check it out. Do a little plug for that. The reason why I plug it here is because this anger method actually came out of that group. One person, we were talking about all the different methods, and one person said, "I feel like I'm using the anger method," because what she was doing was she picked the debt that made her the most angry, right? And focused on that. And again, for me, it's all about motivation. That if you're going for the long haul, that's what it's all about. So if there's a debt that just really irks you, it might not be the smallest balance and it might not be the highest interest rate, but just something about it is just driving you nuts. Then
maybe a loan from a parent, right? Or
that's a
student
good
loan.
One. Yeah. One example we gave in the series was a car debt on the car that your ex drives, right? Or something like that, or just there's all sorts of things where it's just it's a bad decision you feel like you made, and it's just annoying you every time you have to make that payment. It's a reminder. I mean, there's or maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's just a hard time in your life, and you don't want to be reminded of that. There's so many reasons. I mean, like the debt to a parent is a good example. For some people, that's no big deal. Like I've talked to tons of people who are like, I owe some money to my parents. It doesn't affect our relationship at all. They are super chill about it. I'm super chill about it. It's not a problem, right? And then I talked to some other people where it causes problems in their relationship.
Yeah.
It's like ugly. And it could be either way. It could be because the parents or the people that have the debt are being weird about it, or it could be that you just feel weird about it, and you're the person that has the debt is the person that owns the debt is totally chill about it. Either way, it can kind of sour that relationship. So you might want to get that out of your life quickly, even if it's not the smallest interest or the smallest or the highest or the smallest balance or the highest interest rate, right?
But it probably has the highest level of motivation.
Yeah. So like check your emotions when you like list your debts and like look at each one. And if your blood pressure rises on one of them, maybe you should go for that one. Or maybe it's like maybe you owe money to like a really powerful institution, like I'm thinking like in the U.S. the IRS or something like that, where you can certainly work out a payment plan, and it can be very very calm and simple thing, but they might have a little more power to act on that debt than other institutions, so you might want to get that out of your life first. Things like that. So I would put all that under the anger method, right?
Yep, that's great.
So you can kind of customize your method, right? Maybe you do the debt snowball, but you put that loan to the car for the car that your ex drives at the top, right? That could be good.
That's the thing. Yeah, you don't have to pick one method and stick with it the entire debt pay down time. You can switch things up as information, motivations, circumstances change. Change the plan.
Change. Yeah. Or maybe it's like types of debt. Like maybe you're not so worried about a car loan, but the credit cards are frustrating you. So you might focus on that first. Other methods that I've heard out there, some people say you should focus on consumer debt first. So,
sure.
Credit cards, anything where it's like something could be repossessed and it's like a high risk kind of situation. Like, actually that's another method. So yeah, like some people say like consumer debt first, do the credit cards, do the car loans. Other people say think about the risk, right? So like if something happened and you couldn't pay your debts, if you didn't pay on your car loan, you get your car taken away, right? If you don't pay on the credit cards, well, your credit will get dinged. Eventually, if they took you to court and did all this stuff, they might be able to garnish your wages or something like that, but that's going to take a long time, right? So like think about, okay, secured debt and unsecured debt. How much risk am I taking? That's another method that a lot of people consider. So
yeah, good point there.
Yeah, there's a lot out there.
All right, so you got to drop that hot take on us now. I think it's time. We've talked about the methods.
Okay. Here's my hot take. I'm just going to say it. None of this actually matters. That's my hot take.
The methods, they don't matter?
No, they don't even matter. It's okay.
What if I choose the wrong one?
All right, it matters a little bit, but I think the reason why I make that hot take with no caveats there is because I think people put too much emphasis on the order of debt payoff. I think because people get really intense about this, say like, no, Snowball is the only way, and you're wrong if you do it any other way, or whatever. And it's not what really moves the needle. What moves the needle is, one, making sure you're in a secure financial place. So I think the biggest thing by far is saving for non-monthly expenses so that the debt won't come back, right? At YNAB, that's if there's anything that we just bang our head against a wall and say, no, we will not move on this, it's that. Because we're trying to get people to not just pay off the debt they have, but break their reliance on debt so they don't have to go back, right? And we all know how demotivating it can be to pay off some debt, and then you pay off that credit card, and then that next month the car breaks down and you have no money for car maintenance. You have to put it back on the credit card, right? So this flip-flop of getting out of debt and having to go back in is what really breaks people's motivation, because it's demoralizing,
Well, I love that hot take, and I 100% agree with it. Just pick a method and stick with it and see where it gets you, okay? That's the easy thing. The hard thing is then showing up every single day after that, making all those little decisions that consistently move the needle, once you add them all up.
Yeah. It's about having good budgeting habits. It's about how much you're putting on the debt. I mean, that matters a lot more than the specific debt you're paying off first. It's how much money you can actually put to the debt. But you said something before we started too, Ernie, and I think it's really true. I think it's really about consistency. That's the biggest factor here than anything else. Is can you consistently get that debt knocked down?
Right. And that's where the budget can really help you, especially a YNAB budget, because all those spending decisions are being made off of the category balances. What do I have available to spend on clothing? What do I have available to spend on groceries, right? We look at that number, make decisions based on that number. And then there's always those trade-offs, right? Because we recognize that the money could be used for something else. If I don't spend on this item, I could use that money to pay the debt off a little bit faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, that's where things really start to make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing too. I feel like, especially if you don't have a budget, you can get to a place if you have a goal of paying off your debt, you can get to a really ugly place, I think, where every decision feels like it's loaded with guilt. Like you might say, well, I ran by the fast food because it was a crazy day. That money could have gone to debt, or I bought this thing that, I've been saving up for. That money could have gone to debt, right? And you can drive yourself into this really, it's an unhealthy place, I think, by saying every single thing has to go to debt all the time. And if I ever make a decision for myself to take care of myself at all, then I'm bad, right? But what I think a budget does for you is allows you to make a plan and stick with it. And so, my advice to anybody who's trying to consistently pay off debt, from talking to thousands of people, is just pick an amount, pick a method for it, and like you said, Ernie, just go with it. So say, okay, you know what, the credit cards are gonna get $300 a month, and that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna get $300 a month. I'm not going to worry about nickel and diming every single decision that I make, right? This is what they're going to get. And you'll see consistent progress. And I think people are more motivated by consistent progress than one big jump in the numbers, right? Like you might say, oh, I got this windfall and I could put like a bunch of money to the debt. And that might make you really excited all at once. But what really moves the needle for people in the long term is just consistency. I think that's really what you're after, and it's kind of boring, but I think that's what personal finance is all about. Almost, it's making our money a little bit more boring. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that was an awesome hot take. So awesome. Maybe we start dropping more hot takes, right?
Yeah. So and in the end, it doesn't matter. Just pick something and go with it. That's the hot take. All right. Well, anything else you want to say about these different snowball, avalanche, anger, secured debt versus unsecured debt, all these different methods? Anything else we should say about them, or should we move on to YNAB Wins?
Yeah, I think we said all that we need to say. We can turn this over to the community, hear what the other budget nerds have to say about the debt paydown method. So in the comments, go ahead, drop some feedback there. Love to hear from you. But yeah, we can move on to the YNAB Wins.
All in your mind.
All right, so YNAB Wins. We are celebrating wins from fellow YNABers. And so they're writing in about mindset shifts or maybe things they've accomplished. So I'm going to do the first one. This is from Aaron. Aaron says, it is my 1 year YNAB anniversary today.
There you go.
I wrote an earnest money check for my new home last night. I would never have been able to save a down payment without YNAB. Wow. I know because it hasn't happened in the last 20 years. I was elated and then convinced I couldn't afford the mortgage and I should run away screaming. I went to YNAB and looked at my actual total monthly expenses over the course of the whole year and saw that I can afford this mortgage. Hashtag YNAB proved it.
That's
Love
so
it.
Cool. That is it's all about clarity, like Aaron was able to make that decision because she knew she was going to be okay, because she could actually look at the numbers and say, okay, my emotions are not lining up with reality. It's going to be fine. Right. And that's so cool.
And then the peace of mind that followed, priceless.
Mm-hmm. And like you could easily see that happening the other way. Like, maybe she has this feeling of, oh my gosh, maybe this mortgage is too much. And she actually looks at it and she realizes, you know what, it is, and maybe I should make a different decision. So, it's just all about giving you the clarity. But I'm glad it went that way, Aaron, and and you felt good about it, and you didn't have to back out of anything or anything like that. That's so cool. Love that. All right, I have Elizabeth. This one was also on the Loan Planner episode. I love this. So Elizabeth said, "Thanks for another great Budget Nerds episode." Thank you, Elizabeth. I am enjoying the Loan Planner feature. My win to share is that during the year-end review of my net worth, there you go, she's right after you, Ernie, I realized that I can set a realistic and achievable goal of a positive net worth by the end of 2022. Yes, love this. I've been using YNAB for about 7 months and had never tracked a net worth before. My student loan debt from grad school has been demoralizing for a while now. and my focus was on getting rid of it. But it will take so long. Being able to watch my net worth grow, become less negative, has let me find peace and spark an excitement about my finances that I haven't felt since acquiring these student loans. Thank you, YNAB. Love it. Yeah, I think that's such a great goal. And I think she's going to get there for sure.
I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to say she's going to get there earlier than the end of the year.
I think you're right.
Like that happens
earlier. A lot. That happens a lot where people are like, I'm going to make this goal. And yeah, they get so excited about it. They make it happen even sooner than they think. So yeah, let us know, Elizabeth, what happens. Cause I'll be watching the comments. I want to see how you do, and you should celebrate that moment when you hit net worth 0. It's funny. I feel like it's such a thing in the community right now. People are like, I'm worthless.
Right. So nerdy. I love it.
They say we've been joking about it. We're like, we need to give this a name. We've been talking about it on the team. Like, we need to give this phenomenon. Basically, people are posting a screenshot of their net worth graph, and when they hit 0 net worth, because they've been negative for so long with all their debts, and then they hit 0, they're like, I'm worthless.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tongue in cheek. You're not worthless. Obviously, you have infinite worth as a human being.
Absolutely. But it is a big deal. I remember hitting that point, and we didn't have that, that phrase hadn't been coined at the time, but it was an awesome feeling.
Yeah, we were like, we need to give it a name. Like, we talk about like the worthless whale or something like that. Like some kind of I don't know. There's something there. We'll have to see if we can find something. It's almost like, it's funny because it's like, it sounds like it's cynical, like, oh, I just got to 0 net worth, but it's always a celebration, because it's a big deal. It's a really big milestone. So I love that, Elizabeth. That's really exciting.
Well, maybe in time we'll transition YNAB Wins to the worthless whales or whatever we can come up with.
Yeah. Send us your worthless whales. We'd love to see it. Cool. Well, those are our YNAB wins for today. If you have a win, it can be, it could be like, hey, I paid off a bunch of debt. It could be like the traditional thing, like I paid off this much debt in this much time, that kind of thing. But it could also be like a softer win where it's like, you know what, I just feel better about my finances, or I feel more secure, or maybe like Aaron said, you have more clarity. Whatever it is, let us know, and maybe you'll show up on a future episode.
All right. Well, thanks so much, folks. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yep. See you later.
Happy budgeting.